Hello, and welcome to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I'm going to be talking about highly sensitive people and empaths and what are our solutions with Julia Harrell. For those of you who don't know Julia, Julia is a clairvoyant and spiritual guide who helps highly sensitive people, empaths, and intuitives to overcome their sensitivities, heal themselves, and thrive. Julia was led to study clairvoyant development over the past 30 years. Since 2008, she has guided thousands of students through professional readings, healings, and teachings, and now witnesses miracles weekly with her students who are waking up to who they truly are as they begin to understand their purpose. She also had her own podcast channel on Awareness Ascension, an all live stream awakening network. She is a contributing author to Olivia Whitman's upcoming book, Harmony and Chakras, Volume 3, Raising Happy and Healthy Children for Entrepreneurs Working at Home. And Julia is also currently working on her own book, Sensitivity as a Strength, Your Path to Spiritual Awakening. Julia, that's going to help a lot of people, I think. What a great choice in books. I think so many people are waking up that is so important these days. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here. Let's raise the vibe.
Yes, let's raise the vibe together. So tell me a little bit. I love to ask my guests, what was your journey to what you're doing today?
I grew up very sensitive and thinking I was powerless because of the sensitivity. And interesting enough, I got into drumming, which you would think somebody that's sensitive to sound and smell and all of that wouldn't be on drums, but I did. I was a rock drummer for many years. I still drum now. But part of, I think, what the drumming was shutting out the noise that was happening inside me. I'm a musician anyway. I love to express myself that way. But growing up real sensitive and feeling less than and like, oh, I don't have any power. And the drums helped me feel that power. And it also shut out some of the internal noise. And it was a little later on, being in the San Francisco rock scene, that things started to shift for me. And I put away the partying and I went immediately to meditating. And I was like, oh, the sensitivity is actually a strength because I'm tuning in like a radio to different levels, different vibrations, different radio channels. And I started developing from there in the 90s and still in training today.
Nice. How about what was that defining moment where you're like, this is happening to me. I need to really invest in myself and figure out who I am, how I function, and sort of gain some not only knowledge, but control over your sensitivities.
The big shifts I've made in life came from these I can't stand it anymore moments. So it wasn't, so I was getting kicked in the butt, to make changes. And it would be, I would just be in a pattern and I'm like, I'm sick of this pattern. I'm sick of this pattern. So like I was playing in rock clubs and we get paid in beer. And so that's what you do. And it just became a moment of, I'm sick and tired of this. It's not me. There's a me inside here that wants to eat really well and know about yoga and meditation and all that, but it seems so far away at the time. And that moment, I think it's just asking out in the universe, hey, I need help to make this shift. As soon as that happened, I ended up moving to a little space where I had my own place. In California, you often have to share housing because it's so outrageously expensive. Got my own place, and immediately this person landed right next door to me, a young man who had taken teacher training of a particular spiritual training that I really resonated with. And I'd been looking in books. I thought, oh, shamanism, or different churches, or try all the churches in town. And he presented this book, and I read the intro, and I was like, oh, that's the thing. That's the language. That's the community. That's the missing piece for me. And it really solidified my new path. And then from there, after a couple of years, I got led to the clairvoyant training, which I still do today, which is way easier.
What was it that really pulled you into that training? Did you follow your intuition? Was there something that stood out to you that was like, this is my next thing?
Well, the first one that got called into was
Mhm.
meditation as a service to humanity. And that really resonated with me because I felt like I was really drawn to things for peace. You sh- it's very different to go to a pro peace workshop than an anti-war workshop. Some people may think they're the same. They are night and day different energetically in what they attract.
Mhm.
And I've been really interested in peace, and I have kind of a global interest. Anyway, like if it's good for one person here, it can be good for a whole. So when I found this first one that was about service to humanity, I thought, oh, that makes sense. And the language in there, it just made sense to me. And then with the clairvoyant training that came along later, it was after I got my first reading. And that was with a friend of mine that I knew her boyfriend, who was a drummer friend. And so it felt safe. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go get a reading. I don't know what a reading is. I guess they tell your future and your your partner, who you're going to meet and marry or whatever. I didn't really know, but I felt validated for the first time as a human, as a soul for who I really am. Because I've been chasing these dreams about what a rock drummer is supposed to be, what a person from the South is supposed to be. I had a master's degree in music, was on a track for teaching college. And all these things that I thought I was supposed to be because I had that background, that degree or whatever, supposed to be. And in that reading, I heard who I really was, that I knew at a deeper level, but I'd never quite knew the words to put to
Mhm.
it. And after that reading, I think that really shifted again. I didn't have to get kicked in the tail for that one, but but that one really shifted. And she said, hey, they're doing this meditation class, meditation one. I'm like, I've been meditating for 6 years. So, oh, come try it. And I tried it and I was like, oh, this is fun and easy and I love it. And you know what's extra fun about it? It was at the same time as the Harry Potter books were coming out. And I thought, oh, I'm at Hogwarts.
I love that. I always got that same sensation too. I'm in Hogwarts. I'm living Hogwarts. It's awesome. That's fun. When you were talking about the meditation practice, it really sounded like instead of focusing on the negative, they were focusing on the positive. How did that affect you, and how do you carry that forth into your life today?
Yes, it's so interesting when I'm reading someone and they come in and they go, I've got this problem I want to solve so I can be this other thing. And what ends up happening is when you look at them, there's maybe this gray cloud over here of the thing that they don't want. Maybe they really don't like that thing, or they're worried about something. So they got this worry. And if I solve this worry, then I can be over here what I want to be. But they don't realize that I'll look at it and they put a little more energy on the worry each day. Today I'm going to work on my worry. Whoosh, it grows a little bit.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to get up. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to chant about my worry. Whoop, it grows a little bit. I'm going to take a workshop on how to get rid of worry. Whoop, whoop, it grows a little bit. Two things are happening. One is our resistance to it, and it actually kind of solidifies from like a gray fog to more like a marble over time, like seems harder to move, but everything can be changed. Everything can be shifted. One is the resistance to it, and the other is our attention, our focus to it. And the universe goes, oh, you like working on worry. Okay, here's a couple more things you can enjoy working on worry. And because the universe always has our back, it's like, oh, you're interested in worry. Let me bring you some clients that you can look at worry. Let me bring you some friends that have worry. Let me help create situations that you can experience worry. So we have to look at where our attention goes as well. It's such a paradigm because you think if I fix that, then I can have the other thing. But there's things we can do to be dissolving that, but shift the focus to more than like 51% over to the thing that you do want to grow, that we do want to work on that we really do want to manifest and
Mhm.
attract. It doesn't have to be 100%. Even if you do 51%, you've got more of our energy on that. And when I watch people energetically and the colors and things around them, that starts to grow. This love for humanity or whatever starts to grow, and this worry problem dissolves.
I was just getting ready to ask you that. What is it that people can do to dissolve that once they have that thought form in their fields? Because I tell my clients, I'm like, don't make a list of all the things that you don't want. Make a list of all the things that you do want and focus on that instead. Like,
Yeah.
don't focus on who you don't want, as a boss or a friend or a lover or a politician. Focus on what you do want instead. So people are in that space where they've been focusing on what they don't want so much. How do they dissolve that in their fields?
I do something similar to yours. If people like to write and have writing exercises, is those negative thoughts tend to come up anyway. So I'll have them create a piece of paper, put a line down the middle, and as a negative thought comes out, go ahead and like Harry Potter with the little thought form coming out. It kind of looks like this silver strand.
Uh-huh.
Like pull it out of your brain, pull it out of your beingness, put it on a piece of paper to get rid of it, but then bank up on the left-hand side of the paper, but then bank up two positives. A negative thought comes out, I'll never get there. Um, I created a new course today. I helped my neighbor, just simple things. And then you're going about your day and you banked up on the positive. And then later on in the day, you're doing dishes or whatever. Oh, I was a knucklehead today. Okay. Oh, I was a knucklehead today. And it's freeing yourself from that thought. It's taking it out. And then to bank up the two positives. I'm a good cat mom, and I said some really positive things online today, or whatever. But the trick to it is, if we look at the negative as a problem, then we actually more energy goes to it. But if instead, here's kind of the trick to it, is if we look at it as like, oh, I'm getting that much more free. I'm pulling it out of my brain. I'm putting it in the real world on this piece of paper. I'm that much more free, rather than, oh, there's that limiting belief again. Oh, will I ever get myself free from that? We have to see it as um, the it's an Easter egg. I'm found another nugget that I can be that much more free. So it's just a little bit of a shift in our awareness on that.
I like that. And it really is important to shift that perspective and shift that awareness within ourselves, or becoming aware, period. That's what we're creating in our lives. You mentioned limiting beliefs. And I think that a lot of times we can align ourselves with our limiting beliefs and actually create our identity around that. So for those sensitive people out there who are still struggling, and holding on to those feelings, what would you say to them about, sort of aligning themselves in a different way with those limiting beliefs that we all carry about ourselves?
You mentioned sensitive. So for the sensitive people out there,
Mm.
so there's a diagnoses now, not really diagnosis, but like a HSP, highly sensitive person,
Yeah.
empath, very sensitive, very similar in, if you were to write, we could do a quiz if you like on that, but very, very similar in nature. And for me, growing up a sensitive person and feeling like, "Oh, I can't stand smells and certain sounds, and when people are being harsh to each other, and all these kind of harsh things." And emotionally, I could pick up everybody's emotion. I couldn't turn it off. And I thought, oh my God, this is a limiting belief here, that I'm just destined for a life of holding back, of not going to the party, not going to the funeral, to the event, because it's too much energetically. I'm picking up too much, and I had no idea what to do with it.
Mhm.
I ended up believing for a long time that I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I have this problem. I didn't know empath word at the time.
Right.
I would say more highly sensitive for myself now, or clairvoyant really is a better diagnosis code.
Yes.
We didn't have that diagnosis code in the South growing up. Um, but for me, growing up, say highly sensitive, And I thought it was less than, I had this problem. I'm picking up people's energy. What's wrong with me? How do you deal with this? And there are tools, there are techniques. And what I learned in the clairvoyant training, not so much in the world healing stuff that I was doing prior, because it really didn't talk about how to manage my own space. It talked about how to give, and give. But the clairvoyant training taught me how to really fine tune my instrument. That is me, Julia,
Mhm.
then I can give. And what I learned in the clairvoyant training in terms of being a highly sensitive person is there's ways to turn the volume knob down. And when you turn down the ability to just feel energy, you can reroute up to being able to see and know what's going on with somebody. So it's often the first natural spiritual ability to wake up. It's a superpower. And so then it's just a matter of learning a couple of techniques to learn how to harness that, um, to do whatever you enjoy doing in the world, not be limited. I had a woman come in and she wanted to go to a Christmas party with her husband.
Mhm.
And she said, oh, I can't go. I feel everybody's stuff. I'm exhausted at the end of the day. Even if it's Christmas, it's fun. It's a party. I like the people, but I'm just feeling everybody's stuff. It's too much. I can't go. And I taught her like 3 things, and she did end up going. And she said, not only did I have a good time, I felt powerful in my own space. And that's kind of a key here to what I was feeling powerless before, to going, oh, wait, I can tune in on a lot of levels and get information. She did the same thing in going to that party, that she said she not only was able to turn down picking up too much from other people,
Mhm.
but then she was really starting to open up some other abilities of being able to see and know truth. And she said, oh gosh, this guy walked by me and I just knew his whole story.
Wow.
Not to be a clairvoyeur, but
I love that.
but it just showed that she was able to shift that frequency like a radio band, from just feeling what other people are feeling
Mhm.
to, oh, now I can see and know where they are. Then I can help them a lot better, if that's for me to do. But we have to look at it and see, is that really for me to help, or just I get to learn and grow more for myself?
I find that a lot of people end up being a mirror and, having boundaries with people and their energy. And I might be picking up energy from people. I might be getting the clairvoyance. I might getting the claircognizance, which is to see and to know. But it's not necessarily for me to help them unless they're a client of mine and I have permission. It's more, oh, where do I see that in myself? Or thank you, that gives me more awareness of my surroundings, because my lizard brain is always going, am I safe here? Am I grounded? Is everything okay? Let me assess the environment. So I like to see it as information for me to be able to, assess my environment and have my nervous system be calm.
That's such an important part,
Oh.
like spiritual boundaries. And it's like anything, it's a learned new muscle, and learning what to do with it. Yeah, because you start, like the woman at the party, you pick that up about the guy walking by and you go, well, is it for me to do anything about it? And you have to look and go, yes or no. Nope.
Right.
Okay, just let him walk on by.
Yeah, it's always that, like when you pick up stuff too, like differentiating, and this was a huge one for me for years. Is it me or is it not me? Because a lot of my information that I pick up comes in as images of my own life and my own experience. So I have to differentiate, okay, is this information, for me? Is it mine? Is it somebody else's? Talk a little bit into that and how when you were going through your Hogwarts training, like how you learned to manage that.
Yeah, that's a great point for all healers, and a healer being anybody who loves helping people.
Mhm.
In the training, we're meditating, we're doing something called running energy, which is clearing out the chakras, being in our own space. It's like one of the tricks is being in our own space, clearing out the old pictures. We call them pictures. And so before I do a reading or healing with somebody, I'll sit for like a half an hour to an hour before and clear out my matches with that person, so
Mm.
that I'm not reading through my own filters. And of course, over time, like somebody who's new, it's natural to read through our matches at first, and it can still help the other person because we're going to attract people that I'm carrying a vibration that can help them. So we attract those people anyway.
Yeah.
And over time, then you can kind of broaden the sphere of what I'm looking at over time. But yeah, we do a practice of clearing our matches
Oh, I love that. Clearing our matches. I'm going to start implementing
before
that. I
before
love that language.
yeah, before the person comes in. It's part of my setup,
Hmm.
so that I'm not giving opinion, I'm not giving therapy, but I'm really just looking soul to soul at where that person is. That I don't know what their story is. I don't know what the last chapter is. Yeah, I don't know where in the book you want to look. Let's just see. It's like opening a new novel every time with somebody, but that's a very important part of the setup beforehand.
Yeah, I go through a similar setup, a different language to describe this setup, but we were taught to, through my 4-year program back in the day, to assess like, where are you right now? Where are your emotions? Are you grounded? Have you cleared everything out of you? And then like, what did your association with this person? Do you have positive or negative transference on this person? Like, are you running any distortions around this person, any limiting beliefs? And then clearing
Yes.
all of that so you can really hold a grounded, centered space with the client that's in front of you. And that way you're not picking up anything from them and that you're not passing along anything to them, which I think
That's
is
yeah.
the bigger issue there. And I know when I'm looking for somebody to work on me, I want to make sure that they're grounded and centered and I'm not picking up everything from them, because I can be laying on the table getting massage and, you know, bring up something, that's floating through my mind. Oh, I was just thinking about that. It's real. We pick up things, energetically from the people that we're around or the people that we're touching or they're touching us.
That's really key. Again, for any healers or helpers out there, be in our own space, but also when going to, like, if I go to hear another speaker or something, I'm going to be really mindful of being programmed to somebody else's agenda. I really want to look, see, and know for myself and stay tuned in for myself. I'm listening to the information, but I take it in for myself and I go, does that seem true or not for me right now?
Oh, I love that. Elaborate a little bit more on that, Julia, because I think that's really important and not something that's often taught.
Yeah, if we look at any kind of marketing out there, buy this cracker, and you see it on the news or on a advertisement on TV, you see that a lot, and you go, "Well, I guess I need to buy that cracker." It's programming. We're programming the person, and you just go, "Oh, that's the cracker for me," even though, wait a minute, I'm allergic to wheat. But so it's programming is part of being human right now. And even really good-willed people may be programming each other and not knowing it because it's so ingrained in our society.
Mhm.
I've even heard like salespeople, and I won't say what flavor of salespeople, but I've heard verbiage like, you need to get inside the head of that client so they buy. And I look at it and they go, oh, yeah, they are sitting right in the middle of the head of that client. They've
Wow.
created karma with that person, and that may or may not be the best choice for them. It's got that karma comes around in the overall business, that it's really, it might grow for a while but then implode because that all that karma's got to be equalized. um, but programming each other, even, I would say the other side of it, to be aware of is one of the lessons I like to practice for myself and advocate for people that I'm working with is what I heard a great teacher say about don't give away your crown. So, the crown chakra being the center of knowingness. And this is where, if we set our energy and intention at the crown, then that sets the energy for the whole body. So it's not like set our energy at the solar plexus or set it at the heart. This is the highest vibration. If we set it at that highest point, like I'm going to be at God's love today. I'm going to set this purple up here. I'm going to be at God's love, and then just let my whole body space be at that energy. So if I'm going to listen to somebody else and they have some good information, and then I look, oh, they're programming me to want to buy this $10,000 plan or something, whatever it is. That helps me to own my own space and make my own choices between me and spirit versus that person has my answers,
Mhm.
that priest has my answers, that person that wrote the book has my answers. I can look at it and learn from it, but ultimately I want to get my answers from source. My teacher Michael Tamura wrote a book called You Are the Answer, and I find that that's been a good guiding light, that the answers are within us. People show up as my clients that I get to learn and grow and help them.
Mhm.
And even people on the streets show up that I get to learn and grow or maybe help them from time to time.
Nice. Yes. Our living mirrors.
That's really a good way to put it. Yeah. And a lot of clients will show up that way, living mirrors. And it helps me to put words to what I'm going through too,
Mhm.
when I see it in them, because then I can see, okay, it's between a relationship. I can see where one person is and then the partner is, what's going on that the partner got to be that way. What's the communication space like in the middle? Oh, we got a big dust bunny in there that's letting out lightning bolts. Oh, okay. And then you get to see it from both angles, and through reading it, then that dust bunny with the lightning bolts starts to dissolve
Mhm.
just by shining a light on it, a little psychic light on there, laser beam.
Nice. Not only like you're working with it, and I love how you're describing to our audience how you get in there and you visually see like what's going on energetically, but I think you're also speaking to, giving the power back to the person and being empowered yourself in the
Yes.
work.
That was my own journey too, of thinking I'm powerless because I'm picking up other people's stuff,
Mhm.
to realizing, oh, I actually have a lot of power in here. And drumming was a place I could express that, but I didn't have anywhere else to express that. But by turning down the feeling nature and turning up the seeing and knowing, then I could really find my place in the world. And that's where the power came in, seeing and knowing truth for myself. It's so easy to feel like that person has 100,000 followers. They must have the right answer. That person's on TV. They must have the best answers. I'm learning about all that marketing stuff now, and I'm going, no, there's a strategy to that. You can just get on TV or do the followers.
Mhm.
So it's more and more awareness for me to look inside and go, does this ring true? Did I get goosebumps? Or did some part of me go, let me think about that? Then I might pause
Nice.
before, signing up for that class or following okay, submerge yourself in ice because it's popular or
Mhm.
whatever. I
Right.
might look at it differently.
Yeah. And everybody's different too. There's a lot of things out there that we can do. Like I know for myself, hold what resonates with me and let go of what doesn't. You know,
Yeah,
we're not cookie cutter. We're all different. Different things work for different people, right?
100%.
Yeah. What would you say to the highly sensitive person out there that's like, oh, I'm too sensitive. I don't like this. It's too much.
You have a superpower awaiting. There are a lot of people here right now that are watching this channel that are interested in raising the vibe. They're not on that channel, how to make $1 million.
Exactly.
They're here interested in, how can I share my light in the world? What is my light? What do I do with it? How do I express this in the world? They're here because they're already interested in that. Um, Shoot, lost your question. I got too distracted.
To the person who says it's too much, I can't do it. I don't like
Yeah,
it. I want out.
we're here right now to bring it, to bring and share that light. It reminds me of another story from going to prison, but I'll come back to that.
Yes, please.
But we're here to be that light, anchor that light, shine that light for other people. For those that are sensitive, it feels harsher being here because you're aware of these different levels. You're aware of the physical body, of what somebody wore the other day, that smell that they had on Tuesdays, little details about them. You might pick up emotional things. I can pick up that person walked in and they're mad. They're across the room, they're smiling, but I can tell they're mad. Wait, because now I feel mad. That can be adjusted. Another person's aware on a mental level. Oh, this group over here has this belief system. Or a thought comes in, telepathy, that says, you're no good. But what if it's like if I had the job of working with clients in a low income housing situation, and there's this collective belief, I'm no good, I'm not enough. And we don't realize we come home with that belief. Now I feel not enough. I'm doing my thing in the world, but I feel not enough.
Mm.
We can learn to shift that. So that's physical body, emotional body, mental body, but also the spiritual realm. There's going to be people tuned in to spirits visiting relatives that have died, spirit guides, angels, and all of that. So for the highly sensitive person that feels less than, it's not less than. You're picking up all those frequencies at the same time. Then you just need to learn to manage it. And we're here for a reason right now because the earth is shifting, and we're all on it and shifting. And we're here at this wonderful time in history to help just shine a light for others. You don't have to go out and start a nonprofit. Maybe some will be guided to do that, but for some, it's just anchor that light wherever you live around the world. Be in your body, don't be spaced out.
Yeah.
Don't be doing stuff every day that you just spaced out. That's not spiritual, that's spaced out. But you won't anchor your light if you're spaced out. You're 5 feet up, 10 feet up out of the body. You're like, it feels better there if I just have massive caffeine or I don't know, pot or something that I'm just up here all day. That's just being spaced out. If we're really wanting to anchor that light, we have to be right here, right now, and let that light come through. Just anchor it and do what you love doing in the world. So we're not less than. It's almost more than.
Do you have some tools to help those highly sensitive people out there? And I know there are many listening to this podcast to manage, that to come out of that choice to space out or be in the astral realm or disassociate, be here, to switch, to manage to be here in our bodies in this physical form and, shine our lights and be that pillar.
Yeah, that's the right word. We hear in the therapy world and stuff, disassociating. And to me, when I look at someone disassociating, one could be if there's a trauma, there's something scary that happened when they were a child or something, and they go up about 15, 20 feet up, and you can see them. They're up there. They've created a nice little safe place. It's better up here. I don't know what to do with that scary thing down here. So just whoop, we go up there. So that's on a more intense level. For some, it's just this place is kind of wild and crazy, and people are mad, and I don't like anger. So when there's anger, I'm just going to go up a little bit out of my space, and it's better up there because it's not angry. And then the body's going through stuff, and you go, why don't I remember when I was 7 years old? Because they're about 2 feet up where there was no anger, for some. So I would say the first thing is to bring our awareness behind the eyes and a little bit above the ears. There's a sweet spot there. And this is where we get that direction from spirit. I'm wondering, should I turn left? Should I turn right? Should I date that guy, this person? Should I take that job? Should I take this trip? That answer will come in here. If we're up here, we're going to guess about it. So that would be the first thing, is to be centered in the middle of the head right here, right now. And the second thing would be to be grounded. Give yourself a grounding cord. There's all kinds of grounding things about being barefoot or stuff. Use those for those purposes. This kind of grounding is like putting a big tube, or maybe some people like a image of a tree trunk underneath us that would go to the center of the earth and just flush out stuff that's not mine. So if I'm picking up, a guy walks in and he's angry, and I pick up that anger energy, And then later on in the day, I'm vibrating at that anger energy. I got to flush that down. It's not mine to solve. That is the solving, is flushing it down the grounding cord. So I'd say those two things would really get you going.
Great. Any advice for the highly sensitive person that you have a couple stories, one is around having a choice in the moment. Can you speak into that? Because I think we all have choice when we start experiencing these emotions, whether we choose to stay or whether we choose, to kind of step aside and realign ourselves to something different.
Yes. I was on an airplane recently going to a business meeting, and it was spring break, and I was going to Fort Lauderdale, and it was opening of spring break weekend. I didn't know it. There's 3 20-year-old young men behind me that are rambunctious and ready to go. And they're just, all this stuff is happening that you don't want to happen on a plane. So you have these rambunctious young men behind you with too much cologne and wiggling around a lot. And my seat's going like this, and we get delayed on the tarmac for 2 hours, not a lot of communication. We don't know what's going on. And one of the guys had beans for lunch. This big fart washed through. It was all this stuff,
Uh-huh.
but somehow, it's not somehow, there's a lot of things I do when I'm on a plane. First thing is I'll bring my aura in.
Mhm.
So our aura is normally about arm's distance around, and I'm on a plane and we're all squished in there, and we got the whole spring break vibe. And I'm like, I'm just going to bring in a little closer. So I'm not picking up so much of theirs. And I already know what's going to happen. I've been there. I've been to spring break, not Fort Lauderdale, but I get it. And I'm really wanting to step out of judgment. As I'm reading other people, I'm seeing how damaging judgment is as an energy.
Mhm.
And so I'm really wanting to step out of that and see, yeah, I've been there. I know where you're at. And so all this stuff's going on. We get taken off the plane after 2 hours sitting on the tarmac. They pulled us back in, got off the plane, and these guys are behind me again with a backpack bumping into me. And I just had so much amusement and humor about it. And I could see the lady watching me, and she was like, aren't you outraged by that? Like, why aren't you outraged? And this woman beside me looks at me and she goes, what do you do for a living? And I said, I'm a clairvoyant and a spiritual guide. And she said, oh, that's why you're so calm. And I said, yes, it's always a choice, isn't it? Because I can get mad all day long. We're still sitting on the tarmac, you know, or I can be happy and we're still sitting on the tarmac. So I might as well choose what I prefer than to be stuck in a downward spiral of what I don't want. Going back to the worry energy earlier, we're talking about, I don't want that worry. I'm going to look at that worry. Or in this case, it's just general confusion and things to be annoyed with. Sometimes I look at it energetically too, like if spirit guides knocking me on the shoulder and going, we're going to work on more neutrality. Okay, we're just going to turn up the volume on, see how neutral you've gotten lately. We're going to have the guides farting behind you and pushing your seat and delayed on the tarmac. And just looking at it from the expanded view, it's like, oh, all right, I'll take this mission. Let's see how
Mhm.
I do. Was it perfect? No, but it was not bad.
You're doing mastery level work there, Julia. Staying in neutral on the plane. And a lot of people can succeed in that, right? But there are a lot of people, it just overtakes them and they're not able to stay in that neutral space like
Yeah.
you're speaking to.
I had well, several years ago when I moved to this property, and you have a buzzer, a clicker to get in,
Mhm.
a gate, and you go up a hill. And the gate broke at one point, and it's a hill. So if you're coming down, you have to stop on the hill. And if it's raining or something, so the gate broke. You couldn't use your clicker, but they found a nice lightweight gate. You have to stop, unwind it, open it, drive through, close it, wind it back up. And I'm coming down the hill, and I'm really aware the person before me was just outraged that they couldn't click and go through that door. And I thought, gosh, if they do that, their whole day, they're going to be tight and annoyed with everything. Driving, that person's annoying me. Going to the store, that's not right. Going, getting a massage, that's not right. It's the wrong smell, or, taking that annoyance and tightness all day. And I kind of looked at that and I went, I'm actually really glad that they got this lightweight gate. You just need 2 fingers and it opens up. And I'm deciding to be encouraged and exciting that it's a nice gate to open. And yeah, I don't have my clicker, but it's not bad. And so I just decided I'm going to be grateful that it's a nice lightweight gate instead of something heavy that I get dirty or whatever. It's like, oh no, this is actually very balanced, and you just push it open. I mean, that's a quality thing to look at, right? Your gate to coming in is not working right.
Right. And you were allowing yourself to be in the flow of the moment and not let it hook you. And you didn't go into push around it or rejecting it, or I know there's another word I'm looking for right now, but it's not popping into my head. Resisting it.
Resist.
Yes.
I just literally went into the bubble of the person that rode through there before me. And I experienced all of that in that bubble of, oh, when are they going to fix that? Oh, I can't believe this happened. This should never happen. We're going to set up appointments and make sure this never happens. And that person didn't do it. Oh, and that needs repaired. And that's not right. And that's not right. And just that tightness. And I'm like, oh, that just sounds exhausting and miserable. I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to be grateful. I mean, the bottom line to this whole conversation, if you're grateful, you've shifted that consciousness from the problem to the solution.
Right. And you're not focusing on what you don't want. And then when you focus on what you don't want, then you're bringing more of what you don't want in. So you're like, you took it back to that original concept that you had, where you're focusing on that marble of you don't want. And then that's growing. And then you get proof of that throughout your day or your week or your month if you decide to stay in that energy, because the universe just wants to prove our reality constantly. So if we're going to be in resistance around something, it'll just give us more things to be resistant about.
I like how you said that the universe wants to prove our reality. That's a good one. I find that really true too. And our guides are always kind of tapping us on the shoulder. Would you like to look at this now?
Yes.
Like they have our best interest in mind. It's our biggest advocate, our primary guide.
So you're clairvoyant, you're claircognizant, which is clear seeing and clear knowing. How does spirit communicate with you and sort of ease that highly sensitive aspect of yourself in your daily reality?
I would say first, everybody has these abilities, right? We have lungs, we have a heart, we have a spleen. It's all built in. We have these abilities built in. And just like a musician, some people are just naturally really good at it at first. But like, you want to learn to drum, I could teach you how to drum, right? So it's in there. So these abilities are in there. I had to uncover mine. I had some goo on the windshield, I always like to say. But you're right. I have more awareness now on seeing and knowing. So I'm pointing to seeing, the 6th chakra, knowing the top of the head, 7th chakra, where when I first started, it was all about feeling, and I felt out of control. I couldn't turn that thing down. It was miserable. But by learning to turn that down and focusing on seeing and knowing, I don't have to feel to know where people are. I can. It's still a helpful ability to have for certain things, but now I can more see and know, and I really rely more on knowingness too. I just know I need to talk with the person at the back of that store. I don't know who they are or what they need yet, but I just know I need to go talk to them, and let it unfold.
Nice. You were talking earlier. Well, there's 2 things. So I kind of want to circle back because said you had a story about being at a prison. So I think that would be super fascinating. And I'm curious about this quiz that our listeners can take. So would you mind sharing both?
Yeah, the story about going to prison, I volunteer. in nearby prisons and places that feed the homeless and stuff like that for an organization called Bread and Roses here in the Bay Area. It's a
Nice.
wonderful organization that brings hope and healing through music and the arts to places where people normally wouldn't have access. And I remember going to a nearby prison, and the first time there, I was scared. I was just being the body. I was totally being my personality, ego, body. And this was an imposing place. Like the walls looked like about 8 feet thick and 30 feet high. And it was an imposing place. And it's men. And there's only like maybe 2 women in the group walking in. We're bringing music.
Wow.
And I thought, oh boy. And I'm watching my body react. And then I just had this moment. We're walking around, there's like a couple thousand guys now. And I just had this moment like, I'm not here to survive this. I'm here to bring it. And I tuned in for a minute. And this is the thing I should have done in the parking lot before I went in, or even a week before, 2 days before. But I just tuned in for a moment and I said hello to Christ. And I said, hey, do you want to come in with me and offer healing if anybody wants it? Just put a little healing on their crown if they want it, only if they want it. And immediately I felt a shift. And this man comes right up and he shakes my hand. He says, I'm so glad you're here. And it was just, it shifted the whole energy to joy. And then I could really see where they were in joy too. Like it's a beautiful sunny afternoon. We have all these people coming. We have music. We have all these booths and art and access to these different programs and stuff. And I was like, wow, they have joy. There's no excuse for me not to have joy. I can go to Whole Foods or Starbucks or Pete's after this if I want to. They cannot. So there's no excuse for me not to have joy.
Nice. Oh, that's beautiful that you're taking music and volunteering in different programs. I think that's so important, that outreach, giving back. Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for
I
doing
love it. My favorite's coming up at Easter time. Well, Easter and Christmas. I love playing. There's a place that feeds people that really live on the streets, and they can come in and get some food, and we play music. And when they get 2 pair of socks, they immediately give one to somebody else.
that.
If they get 2 bottles of water, they immediately give it to somebody else. It's really heartwarming.
Yeah, that is heartwarming. Wow. Wow. And I like what you said beforehand that before you even go in, set up your space,
Yeah,
set up your energy.
yeah. It's part of the training as a teacher. If
Mhm.
I just walk in a room and start teaching, I'm going to get blown away by where everybody else is. I have to consciously set up that space well before, like months before, set up the energy space, and then a day before, and then the day of. Like I have a class tonight. So I've already set up the energy for the class. It doesn't start for another 5 hours or something. But to already have the energy set with the intention of what we're going to work on, we're going to do healing stuff tonight. So set it at a certain energy vibration and look at where people are and what they're running into and kind of include that in the class as well.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you're speaking to, we're not just these physical beings. We do
Yeah.
have energy around us. We are energetic beings. We need to work on the energies as well as the physical space because that's not taught. And I think
It's
that's so important.
That's really true. If you think about all the near death there's a lot of channels out there and like Next Level Soul.
Mhm.
Alex has probably interviewed over 100 people with near deaths. And a similar story might be, I'm in an accident. I am in an accident in the car. Next thing I know, I am 20 feet up looking at the body, completely different spaces. And the I 20 feet up is the one we're becoming, and putting this one in charge of the I that's in the car. It's putting that higher me in the driver's seat. We're taught in this life to be the body and push forward and move forward and no pain, no gain and all that. That's all body based. But the magic is putting the higher me in the driver's seat. And that's what this training has taught me.
That's awesome. And that brings it back to connecting with that crown chakra.
Yeah.
And there's a favorite practice I like to do where I bring the light into my crown chakra and then I continue the light down my body. Not only am I filling my body with light, surrounding my body as protection, but also grounding myself. So I think, and you're pointing to being in that higher self space, which changes the perspective. If we're constantly going to be in love or be in that higher self space, we're going to choose differently in our lives.
Yeah. We do a similar exercise, bringing in light energies, call our energy back and bring it in and really have it, So yeah, that's a good
Nice.
one.
That's
That's
a
an
good one.
all-in-one.
That's a great one. Yeah, and that's important too. We want to be whole beings, so calling those pieces back to ourselves. But I have a part in my sex magic book that I just published. In 2018, I got the download, call my pieces back. So it's the healing of ourselves, those calling back in those, broken off pieces of ourselves to reestablish back within ourselves, become that whole being is part of the process of being present now as a whole being embodied, that full embodiment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't realize how much we've spread out our energy. When I look at people at the end of a session, I'll help them call their energy back and see, oh, there's still energy on this relationship 15 years ago. There's still energy trying to get mom to do or not do something. Oh, there's still energy in a classroom over here or whatever, and call that all back. It's a healing for everybody.
It is. And you just pointed out something else, Julia. It's like we can keep things going in the field by just talking about them or stressing about them, ruminating about them, complaining about them, gossiping about them. You're just keeping everything alive in a little energetic thought form around you. And why? Let it go. Just
Yeah.
let it go. Don't keep it
Amen.
alive in the field. Just let it go. We don't want those cords and tendrils out in all the various different places. Call your energy back and yeah, send everything out to
That's
the source for
that's good.
transmutation.
Yeah, I'm glad you're getting that message out. That's important. And it's like all healers on deck right now, too. Like we need
Yeah.
the helpers, Mr. Rogers would call the helpers of the world. We need everybody on board right now.
Yeah. So highly sensitive people out there, it is not a curse. It is a gift. It is your superpower. It is a strength
Yeah.
to be here now because we need you.
It's only a problem if we're not learning to manage it and it's running away with us every day, which is what was happening for me. Normally, that ability doesn't open till you get a little later, but for some, it opens earlier. And even kids, there's been a wave of people say crystal kids or indigo children and stuff. There's been a wave coming in for quite some time now, and they've got more abilities open if they're taught to be like ignore that imaginary friend, or that's not real, or you can't know what Uncle Ben was thinking. If that's squashed and they love their parents, then it gets really confusing. It
Yeah, it
gets
is.
harder to have that. But now more and more, you just look on Instagram, there's tons of great stuff out there that you can learn about your abilities and so forth too. But be discerning, because there's different ideas that are just opinions as well.
Yeah, definitely check in, like you were saying earlier before, Julia, check in with yourself and see, does this resonate? How does it feel in my gut?
Yeah.
Am I getting those goosebumps you were talking about? Does that resonate with
Yeah.
me and serve me right now? Yeah, because there's so much information out there. Yeah.
I'll see too, like somebody will get a lot of hits and they'll take those words and they'll say it over here, but I'm looking at they don't embody any of that at all. That frequency is not in them. So I look at the frequency that they carry and I go, that's where they want to be. And it is helpful information for people, but they're not carrying it yet.
Mhm. Speak into that a little bit more because I think a lot of people are trying to, kind of detach from things and align themselves. How can they build themselves to a place where they are in alignment with the things that they do desire?
Let's talk about it in terms of relationships.
Yeah. Sure.
There's a good one. So if we think about frequency, everything's frequency. This table is a frequency, emotions show up as different frequencies, colors, thoughts show up as different frequencies, colors. You can see them all that way. If I'm in a relationship and I feel down and out and I feel I'm no good, nobody wants to be with me, that's a vibration and it's magnetic. It attracts someone that can have that. Someone else that feels not enough, that feels like I'll never get there, or this is not what I want. How am I going to attract a super awesome partner if I'm vibrating here? The
Mhm.
distance is too great and it's not magnetic to be able to attract the correct person. So what I'm the frequency I'm embodying, if I were, and I did in my past, I'm like, there's something wrong with me, I'm too sensitive, it's a problem, I'll never get there, and I don't make enough, and all of that. I track the same thing because it of frequency, it's magnetic. And the more I work on myself and the more I let go of old limiting beliefs of what I'm not, and the more of the true authentic me comes out, it shifts the vibration way up and then becomes magnetic to a super duper awesome partnership. So that would be one way of looking at it in terms of frequency. It's magnetic and it's attractive that way, like not positive and negative magnetic, like
Mhm.
that's the opposite of what I want, but magnetic in that it magnetizes someone on a similar frequency or better.
Yes, or better. And that kind of links hand in hand with what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, where then you're not aligning with what you don't want, then you start aligning with what you do want.
Yeah.
And I think that's, one of the major keys of manifestation too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, manifesting is big, and more people are talking about why doesn't that manifestation technique work? Why that manifestation doesn't work? I got this key, and why that doesn't work? And so we're starting to see that yes, you ask and it's given. That's always there, right? Then we have to look at, is it on my path? Would it be on my path to own a hot air balloon right now? No. No, would it be on my path to order to have a souped up big sports car? No, I'm a drummer. I need a hatchback. you know, so is it on my path? But then I have to be able to receive. If I have limits to receiving, like that's too nice for me, that should go over there, then it will. It'll go right over there to someone else. Or I can't have it yet because I haven't gotten that extra credentials after my name yet. Or I should wait until my sister gets the thing. So we can set up those limits. So we have to look at the runway to receive it too.
Right. Ooh, and you were just dipping into that self-worth issue. Oh, I don't have the credentials. I'm not worth that.
Yep.
And that goes back to our limiting beliefs holding us back,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
circles
So if you,
around, to what we were discussing earlier as well.
yeah. So if there's something in your life you're going, oh, I really have always wanted to do this thing out in the world and I feel I should do that, but fill in the blank. Where
Mhm.
is that? And then let that go down the grounding cord. Let that, whatever practice you do for letting go, transmuting energy, changing it from one space to another, letting go, forgiving, whatever that but is, then you'll know, oh, but my parents wouldn't like it if I'm out there on a stage talking about spirit stuff all day. It's weird. Or my neighbors or my friends that are a certain religion wouldn't wouldn't like it if I did that. Or what are those limitations? Take a look at them and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they're following their belief system. Okay, but
Mhm.
I can still let it go.
Exactly.
It's up to me to let it go. They're going to be whatever they're being, but it's up to me to let go in my space.
Yeah. Allow them to be who they are and believe what they believe and accept them for who they are. And then you do you.
It's
Yeah.
so helpful about reading energy because, like in that case, somebody's in a religion that thinks, it's the strangest thing to me. Somebody asked, do you believe in God? I'm like, yes, I'm a spiritual minister. I lead people to God. It's just a different language,
Yeah.
you know. But I could see too that they're very very interested in God, very interested in communication, communion, in community, and being part of the group. And if there's a really strong agreement in the group, this is the way we word things. This is the way, and if you say a word outside of that, then it's not safe. And I could see it's coming from a not safe part. And
Yeah.
so you could see where it's coming from.
Yeah. People's first chakras get triggered and they're not feeling safe. And my way's the right way because it keeps me safe and I'm grounded. And,
Yeah.
I have fear there for something that might not keep me safe. That's true.
Fear, yes, fear and safety can be a big one. Fear behind lots of limiting beliefs, fear of being found out, fear of not being enough. There's some real popular ones that
Mhm.
come across my in my clients.
Mhm. Yeah, let those go so you can manifest your best life. I think one of my favorite stories of yours is the one where you manifested your class. So can you tell that story as we wrap up our talk
Which
today?
class?
Where you manifested your clairvoyant class.
Oh, when I was first starting with
Yes.
with my neighbor.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not the one you were talking about,
Oh,
though.
where you manifested the clairvoyant training that you enrolled in, and then all of a sudden, you're like, I don't know, I can't afford this. And then you enrolled and the money came in, and then your transportation came in too.
Oh, that one. Yeah, yeah. I had the prior meditation for 5 or 6 years, and I thought, this is just, I'll do this. I'll sit at home real quiet by myself, and I'll just send these good vibes out to the universe, right? Nobody's looking, right? You can't see me, right? So I thought, okay, that's me. Meanwhile, I'm on stage rocking out, being seen. Um, I started the clairvoyant training, and it was a little bit of a dichotomy because both styles didn't like each other. So I'm like, oh, who am I? Because if I go by this belief, they say it's not safe to open your abilities. But if I go by this group, they say it is safe, and watch out for programming and dogma. And I go, oh. And I started taking the clairvoyant training, and I just went, oh, this feels so right and so fun and so easy. And people laugh all day because we're raising frequency when you laugh.
Yes.
And I knew the next step was taking the clairvoyant training, but I thought, I'm not clairvoyant. I don't read people's futures. I don't want to know their futures, but I'm having fun learning about my own space and all these chakras and what they can do and stuff. And I realized that's the next thing that you take is clairvoyant training. So I'm like, I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't have an extra $2,500 or whatever it was to sign up in the 90s. That's a lot of money.
Hmm.
And I just went, okay. They told me that if I make the decision, spirit's got my back, going, okay, you want this, we'll have this. Well, the money dropped in really quickly, and it was enough to pay for the whole year plus a big fast motorcycle to get me there and back, because it was an hour commute on a windy road, and it was either that or my little Honda. My little Honda. And I got this big fast motorcycle, and now it's enjoying the journey. All those turns were like woohoo.
That's awesome.
So it really did happen
That's
that
fantastic.
I got even more than I bargained for by making that decision and being on my path.
And you were on your path, and that brings it back to, you might not need that hot air balloon, but the universe will give you what you need when you're on your path. The money
Yeah.
will come in, the class will be there, and you'll have the transportation to get there. I think that's a fantastic example of the universe giving you what you need when it's on your path.
Oh, it was,
When it's easy, it's easy. Yeah.
yeah, it was more than I was even thinking about. I just needed the 2,500, and way more came in.
Mm. And that's
Yeah.
how it works, because the
Yeah.
universe wants to support us.
Yeah. They're
Mhm.
like, you need this training. Get in there.
Yeah. And enjoy the ride there. Yes.
It's like the first
As
time.
a motorcycle rider, I can totally
You
relate.
do? What do
Yes.
you have? What do you
Love
ride?
that. Well, I sold it when I moved last year, but I had a Harley Street 500 that I just
Oh,
love to ride. So I am, looking to start riding again now that, the sun is starting to come out in the Pacific Northwest. We really are limited to a very short season,
it's
and to
true.
have something, small to ride around the island would be super fun. Yeah, I miss
Yeah,
it.
you need something small there. Yeah.
Mhm.
I had a
Yeah,
Suzuki 1200, so it
nice.
was really nice on the freeways.
Cool. What is a jewel of wisdom that you would like to leave our listeners with today, Julia?
Own your crown. So what do you mean by that? When a great teacher says, don't give away your crown, is that as we're looking around social media, we're flipping through YouTube, we're looking on Instagram or whatever. That seems like a good idea. I'm going to do that. Take a moment to tune in, be in the center of the head, tune into that knowingness at the top of the head and go, does this seem true for me right now or not? To really tune in as we're sorting through the smorgasbord of information out there and get that answer direct from source.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you, Julia. And how can people find you?
I'm online, juliaharrell.com. I have a free class on there if you're an empath and you want to try it out and get started. I'm on all the socials, Julia Harrell Spiritual Guide. So yeah, come say hi.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. It's been a pleasure to host you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a
Yeah.
delight.
Thank you for being out there raising the vibe. And thank you everyone for joining me. I'm Liz Peterson, and this is Raise the Vibe with Liz. You can find me on all social media platforms at Raise the Vibe with Liz and my website, raisethevibewithliz.com. So thank you everyone. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.